So, okay, just to recap that, your tip number 1 was all about, why is this important to your institution? But really what you were saying is, why is this important to the learning? Your tip number 2, again, was what are you going to do with the technology? But again, what you really were focusing on when you explained that was, how is the technology going to support the learning? And now, again, you're saying, show me the learning with tip number 3. So really,
that's right.
It's so nice to hear that what HP is promoting here is not about technology, it's about learning, and using the tools to support that learning.
It is foremost about learning. And if you have a compelling story, everybody wins. Your students win. You have more satisfaction in your teaching. You're more likely to get another grant because you have a compelling story to tell. And even if you look at the U.S. federal grant programs for innovation, the first thing they're asking for is, what evidence do you already have that what you're doing is working? And so, this matter of collecting evidence, even if it's emerging evidence, not this, it'll take you maybe 3 to 5 years to collect the data that's going to be published at an AERA conference or something. But in the meantime, collect the emerging evidence, and you'll have an exciting story to tell.
So in that whole... Go ahead. In that whole process, if I'm a teacher sitting in the audience tonight or listening to this broadcast, and I'm thinking, I have a need. I have recognized a specific need in my classroom or in my institution, my school, of here's an issue that needs to be addressed, and I think that issue could be solved if kids were able to collaborate more readily using tablet PCs. So the first thing you would say to that teacher is what? Is be specific about the need, correct?
Well, yeah, the first thing I'd say in the case of our grant program is, HP Innovations in Education, for example, was an invitation for school districts to apply. So it was a whole team effort. So your particular scenario, there sounded like one teacher was applying for a grant. And so there may be grant programs where one teacher can apply, but in the case of ours, it's a team of people from the school and the schools within a district that want to make some innovative experiments and such. So anyway, that's the first comment.
So then a teacher would actually need to rally the troops and say...
Rally the troops, find a team. Yeah. And if you have access to expertise from the learning sciences, bring them on board and make them part of your evaluation and assessment plan in your project team. Okay,
so then... Sounds to me like this needs to be a team effort with a lot of input from a lot of different factions within a district, which is going to require some organization and some support. So one assumption that I think may be a misconception is that grantors don't want to hear from grantees. Is that true? Like, how do you feel about grantees contacting you? I need some help with this. I'm stuck in this section. How do we do this?
So I don't mind being contacted. People need to realize, though, that we get a lot of inquiries, so that they have to be patient. But no, absolutely happy to clarify things. I blog about what I learned from grant recipients, and there's opportunity to comment in my blog, and I'm always checking, and I'll reply. I do a little bit of Twitter. Not so much that my arms go numb, but I am in that community. I love following the hashtag EdTech because there's some interesting things happening in there. So that's where you'll find me. What people need to realize, though, is to keep the process fair when they're applying for a grant and they have a proposal question. We can answer clarifying questions, but we can't provide specific coaching to people who are applying because we need to keep it all fair. So what we say in the RFP is what we say in the RFP, and if it doesn't make sense, we can explain that. But we can't say, oh, yeah, on your proposal, we think you ought to change the following things to have a better shot at it. I can't do that.
I understand that. Is there a resource for people who are in the grant writing process, to look at other grants that have been written that have been approved, or something of that nature?
Well, so for our program, we treat proposals as proprietary, and unless a school wants to share them, it's a highly competitive process. So we don't share. Plus, it has private information in it, like contact information.
Right.
And stuff. So what we have is our high ed grant recipients have public project web pages you can visit.
Ah, there you go.
but the actual proposals are proprietary. Now, that's different if you're applying for grants from another organization or from the federal government or from whatever organization you might be applying for. They might treat those differently. I don't know. It depends.
All right, Jim, I'm going to ask you the hard question. Can you remember the first grant you wrote?
No.
Have you written many? Because you're so knowledgeable about them, and I know that I will use you as a resource now down the road.
So what I have done is read hundreds, literally thousands of proposals. So that's where you start to see these trends of what, because when you're reviewing these things, you immediately see that the really good ones bubble to the top, and the really ones that need a lot of help sink to the bottom, and what we wrestle with are the ones in the middle, because it's always far more competitive. There's always more good ideas than we can fund, and so we spend a lot of time thinking deeply about what makes a great proposal even greater, and so that's where we start to drill down into these details, like, did the administrator actually say anything meaningful?
Right,
stuff like
right.
that.
So a lot of it actually does have to do with the voice behind the grant. That even if the factual information is all there and all the A, B, C, and D of what the grant requires is there, you actually want your personality, your needs, your passion to come through somehow in that grant.
That can help, but just don't get too fluffy. We don't have time to read a lot of
I hear
fluff.
that.
Yeah.
I hear that. Well, Jim, this has been an absolutely great discussion, and we've really, I'm sure, opened up the doorway for a lot of people tonight to maybe take that step forward, open that door a little bit, not be put off by the whole mystique about grant writing, and start with something simple and follow those simple tips, and rely upon people like Jim and organizations like Hewlett-Packard to really want you to succeed. They've set this whole organization up, this whole grant funding process up, because they really want to support education in a meaningful way. So they're not looking for ways to knock you down. They're looking for ways to pull you up and to get these resources out to the kids and the teachers.
And to that end, this is why I blog about what I'm learning from grant recipients, because we can't fund all the needs that are out there, but what we can share is everything we're learning. So my blog is where I share out. It's very public. If something good is happening, I want the world to know about it. So feel free to visit my blog. There's a lot of interesting links there and videos. When grant recipients send them, I'll blog about those. And in reading my blog, I hope you kind of get a sense of learning from all the grant recipients that I have the privilege of working with.
Well, thank you, Jim, again for your time and for a great discussion. We really enjoyed hearing you tonight. And thanks again to our sponsor, HP. An archive of tonight's show will be available shortly at www.ISTE-Eduverse.org. If you haven't already joined ISTE's In-World group and listserv, please join today and be among the first to learn about upcoming events and past show archives. Visit ISTE.org/secondlife for more info. We hope you've enjoyed tonight's presentation. Thanks again to Jim and to all of you for participating.